Today, we're going to be going over hidden history they don't want you to know. Now, I must warn you, this is going to be one of those videos that make you think. And it might offend you a little bit. This is all educational for you to learn, for you to challenge perceptions about the world and what you think you know and why you think you know what you know in the first place. And who wants you to think the way you think about yourself and the world? It's going to be really good. We're going to get into some hidden history. Whether you black or white, this is going to be something that's immaculate that I think is going to change your perspective. And by the end of the video, I want you all to let me know if you learned something, if it changed the way you see the world ultimately. Now, I debated on when I wanted to put this video out, right? Just because some of these thoughts are, I would say, raw on my head, and I'm letting them stir still, right? And so as I'm going through this with you, it's almost a learning experience. We're learning together, right? And the thing that I want you all to do is challenge me as well. The whole goal every time is to have a high-level conversation. Well, if we're going to have a high-level conversation, then we must challenge each other. That means that you must do your research, I must do my research, and we must see who's right. And the beauty of it is, as long as you're thinking, we both winning. You know what I'm talking about? So while you got some time, I want you to get yourself together. You know what I'm saying? Relax, breathe in, feel good, get a little peaceful for a moment. You feel me? Get your meditations, your zens, whatever you need to, and strap in for this thought-provoking session that we about to have. You know? So let me send this out, and we're going to get to it in just a second. I'm going to make sure that some of my other people on some other platforms know that I'm live because they get mad at me when I don't say nothing at all. Oh, and then I need to change this picture. Breathe in. All right. In the meantime, where's everybody coming from? And let me know how you feeling today. We got a lot of people over here on YouTube. A lot of people over here on YouTube, man. I'm going to go ahead and change this thumbnail, and then we're going to get started. So this is a part of the video. I want to make sure you get yourself comfortable. And I hope y'all don't get mad at me for the things that I share in this. It's for thought-provoking, provocation only. All right. This is going to be really dope. All right, I see we got people from all over. Anybody from Florida in here? This will be very interesting for my peoples that are from Florida in here. Definitely. I want to make sure I see my peoples from Florida. Anybody from Florida, and anybody know the history of Florida? This will be interesting to see as well. All right. I don't see the tab to change this thumbnail, so I'm going to probably just let it be as it is so we ain't got to waste too much time. And then I'll change it afterwards, which is unfortunately. All right. So we're in what we call Black History Month, and I'm going to start this off very heavy, right? How many of you all have heard of the American Society of African Culture? Anybody heard of AS of African American culture? I'm going to share my screen so you know what I'm sharing from, right? And we'll go directly here, which is interesting. All right, so let me share my screen. Boom. So anybody can follow along, and you can look this up for yourself. Okay. I'm clicking on it now. Get started. And then, of course, I'm doing this while the markets are crashing. So at least we're getting up on some knowledge and we're gaining something. Cannot see the screen being shared. All right, there you go. Boom, there we go. All right, so we're going to move that here. All right, so if we look right here, it says the American Society of African Culture. It was an organization of African American writers, artists, and scholars right? The society was founded as a result of the Congress of the Negro Writers and the Artists in 1956, based on the idea of the French Society of Africaine de Couture. In June 1957, the African Society of African Culture was officially founded by 5 African American intellectuals: the political scientist and civil rights John A. Davis, historian and social scientist Horace Mann, which is very interesting because I think he was named after Horace Mann, the white dude, the one who had such a profound effect on the education system. Some call him the modern father. The professor of French and future American ambassador Will Mercer Cook, the philosopher William T. Fontaine, and James Ivey, the editor of the NAACP, right? Thurgood Marshall and Duke Ellington were also founding fathers. Pay attention. During its heyday in the 1960s, the ASMAC had around 400 members. One of the main goals of the organization was to expose African Americans to African heritage. The aim was to pursue through organizing exhibitions, lectures, music performances, and conferences in the United States, primarily New York and Africa occasionally. They published volumes of African Americanism, which was reconsidered in Southern Africa in transition, edited versions, et cetera, et cetera. And without going into everything, we get down right here. They had an office in Lagos, Nigeria, 1961. They had an office in Africa. They celebrated a 2-day festival of music performance, dancing, and panels. Now, this is where we get to the eerie part of this piece of information. They had CIA funding. Why did they have CIA funding? The AMSAC had received federal tax exemption a year prior, and thus large grants became available to the organization for previous projects from various entities. This financial backing was how they were able to organize the large festival in Lagos. The grants were later revealed as CIA pass-through. The membership sharply declined that they was named one of the organizations that was funded by the CIA. After that, it ceased to exist. All right. Now I know what y'all thinking, just like I was thinking as I was doing some of my studies. Why would a Pan-African group be funded by the CIA? This doesn't make any real sense if you think about it. I don't see how the CIA would have anything to do with, cultural things and arts and music. Why would they push that? Right. And that's what we're about to get into. And this is what I want you to question everything as we go through this. The question why should come up, a lot for you during this whole entire endeavor, if you will. The question becomes is why? That doesn't make any sense. Right. Now, I'm going to go through a few things and then I'm going to wrap up a really good point. Now, I'm typing in something, and as I'm typing, I want you all to think. All right. So did we gather our thoughts yet? Did we figure out why? Anybody know? All right. So now, as we got that in our mind, I want us to think about something else. I published a list earlier today, right? If you follow me, then you most likely seen this list. Now, I'm going to go over this list in a second. This list was the top Black economic liberators of our time, right? Or entrepreneurial geniuses, if you will, right? And this is a list that I came up with. And I was going over this list utilizing AI to do some research on it. And I wanted to really make a point with something. Because if I ask most people, what's your top 5 ancestors, right? And I ask you all today, like, what's your top 5 ancestors that or the most impactful in Black America that you think are like the most necessary today? Can anybody share their list with me? Think about it in your head or share it in the comments. Very important, right? What is that going on with my screen? I don't like that. I don't like that at all. What they got doing? What they trying to mess up? They see me over here ready to spit some knowledge, and they trying to mess up the game. I see what's going on, but I ain't gonna let them do it. Hold on, what's this? All right, let me fix this real quick. I don't understand that. It ain't never did this before. Can y'all see it going green and green and green and green? I feel like that's them trying to mess up my stream right now. I've never seen this happen. So let me see if I can reset this. They say, no, I know you about to cook tonight. Ain't no way we about to let you. So if you're watching this after the live, let me see if I fixed it and then give you the ability to fast forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the side. I'm going to take off my sharing presentations in that and see if that helps. All right, so now we about to go over here. Yeah, that's never happened before, but y'all can still hear me, that's for sure. I got 2 cameras set up, so there's no reason why there should be any issue with the camera streams. Oh, there we go. Now we back. Come on, man. Why they trying to play with me like that? All I want to do is give y'all a little knowledge on this beautiful day. You feel me? I even got something to do after this. So I wasn't planning on staying forever. All right. We back. All right. So here we are. Your top 5. So I'm looking at the people that put in there. I see a lot of Marcus Garvey's in there. I don't see a lot of top 5s, to be honest. You feel me? Let me see if I can overlay that on the screen real quick. No, I don't see a lot of top 5s. All right. Well, my top 5s, if you follow me on Twitter, was the Honorable Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? O.W. Gurley, Booker T. Washington, and Madam C.J. Walker. Now, the question is why these particular ones? It was about economics, right? And if we talking economics, they had the biggest economic impact. So specifically economics, because you got to think about what we're dealing with today. Most people, if we go into mainstream society, they saying Malcolm, they saying Martin, right? They gonna say W.E.B. Du Bois, right? Maybe Huey P. Newton or somebody, Fred Hampton, right? There's a lot of different people that we go by. But this is where I want us to take emotion out of it. We have to be able to think about what should we resurrect during this time, right? And we have a responsibility to resurrect our ancestors. We have a responsibility to not let them die. So now if we go into who had the most economic impact, right? Let's start with Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey, in today's adjusted time, will most likely be almost close to a billionaire, right? Based on his economic empire. He had the ability to get people to crowdfund, right? Before there was social media, he had 4+ million followers. How did he do that? He had a movement that was infectious and he organized chapters all throughout the globe. He created the Pan-Africanist movement that allowed them to have the Black Star in the Ghana flag in the first place because he wanted to create the Black Star line in competition with the White Star line. Great man, right? He had factories, he had stock certificates. He was the first person teaching Black people about stocks. Legendary, right? His messaging was more of us taking advantage of our own economic power and doing for self. It wasn't a message of civil rights. It wasn't a message of assimilation, acculturation, integration, right? It was about having the self-sovereignty to do for self and understanding that we have the intellect, power, and organization to get it done. Now, you would think like, okay, why isn't there any reverence when we talk about the economic network that he built up, right? He was one of the most brilliant entrepreneurs ever to exist. And this is why I want us to take a step out of like our religious minds. Because once we get in our religious mind, we can't see things for what they are. Oh, was they Christian? Was they Pan-African? Was they Muslim? Was they more? Let's talk economics. Because when we get our economics right, then we can go debate all damn day. You feel me? He had it done. He had the brothers in uniforms and suits. He had them organized on another level. And he inspired all men that existed at that time. Then we go to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Honorable Elijah Muhammad, powerful man. Let me pull a picture of some of these soldiers real quick for y'all. Let me see. I got them on the phone, but I want y'all to see them when I talk about some of these brothers. You feel me? Because I don't think we really resurrect our ancestors enough. I don't. I think I think that we operate off the story that America gives us the most. And then we have to ask ourselves, who benefits from us knowing this story and not our own story? So I know everybody else has their ancestors, but I'm going to challenge you to think about these ancestors a little bit more, right? Really think about these ancestors. And it's really these two particular men. These two particular men, I want you to think about a lot. And I want you to have the ability to take your feelings out of it. Because here's the thing about white America. They have the ability to take their feelings out when it comes to them evaluating their ancestors' contribution to their history, their legacy, and their lineage. And then they have the ability to learn from them, take pride from them, and then conquer from them. It's admirable, to be honest. And unfortunately, we think we need to pick this one, that one, this one, that one. I don't think that's the reality. I think that each one has something that we need to learn from. And particularly, some of them had different blueprints at different times. And for this one, I'm talking about just the American history. We can talk about Mansa Musa going all the way back to Mali and all of that. We don't even need to go that far. The beauty of it is we have close enough examples. So if we go into the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, what do we find, right? We find a man who had a 3rd grade education. Was he a genius? I want you all to think about this in today's time. If somebody was reporting a story on a man, this man has a 3rd grade education and he built a nation within a nation. And he built up an empire of today's equivalence to the time of his passing. In today's time, be worth somewhere around $500 million. A third grade education. This doesn't make any sense, first of all. And then the question becomes is, why weren't we taught about this? Why, how can a man have bakeries and restaurants and import and exports and aviation schools and banks and supermarkets and barbershops and colleges and universities all throughout America and classes, right? And temples and an economic plan and have the best redeeming and reforming program ever to be produced, written down and documented as a framework how to clean up a man from being dirty to clean. I want y'all to think about that for a second, because I know a lot of times you think about Nation Islam, you think about the Muslims, you know what I'm saying? You think about Islam, oh, that's not my religion, this, that. No, let's think about it from a practical, logical reasoning, because we'll look at a Kanye West as a billionaire. We look at a Jay-Z as a billionaire, you feel me? We can look at a Robert F. Smith as a billionaire, and we like, man, these brothers is genius, but wait a minute. What does it mean when a man can come up in the South where he's seen his family get hung by Ku Klux Klan members? He grew up in a church with his father being a preacher. You know what I'm saying? And he was taught by a man that gave him enough knowledge in 3 years to where he could outrank every single scholar in the world and build up the most massive economic empire in our time that we've ever seen. And I mean that by the last one that was built that we've seen. Then we can go to O.W. Gurley. He was everything but Gurley. That man took 40 acres and a mule, and he built that up to 72,000 people, right? Having his own banks. You know, he had the Black Masonic lodges and things of that nature, right? He had a dollar circulating consistently in there, building up the Greenwood. Everybody knows about O.W. Gurley because it became known as Black Wall Street. Oh, the infamous Black Wall Street. The one that we talk about the most. Black Wall Street is the most talked about of all. Black Wall Street. Oh, we love us some Black Wall Street. But what do we really even know about Black Wall Street? And when you look it up and they have it in flames and things of that nature, right? But I don't want to remember Black Wall Street like that. That's not how I want to remember Black Wall Street. I want to remember Black Wall Street from a time when we believed, because that's what it represented. These men grew up in a time where they seen the worst of worst, but they had a belief about life that was powerful because it was the belief that we can be and do anything because we free now. And that belief you can't beat. That belief is so powerful that it had them believing we can create our own cities, we can imagine our own world. Man, that's powerful. But today, that belief for a lot of people is lost. You know, they're afraid of believing in it anymore because they say, if we do it, won't they just burn it down? That's what they think. They think it's not worth it anymore. So what did we really lose June 1st? Or June 1st, 1921. What did we really lose in Black Wall Street? It was a belief. It was a belief that this thing is possible. That's what we lost. A lot of people, and not at the time, because there was over 60 plus towns that were built. That wasn't the only one. It wasn't a one singular attack and we gave up. No, that's what they would love you to believe. We just had to bomb one and then it was over for y'all. No, that's not how it worked at all. That's not how we operated. We kept building, kept building, kept building, kept building. And quite frankly, we never quit. We never quit. Ever. And it's something that I want y'all to remember about it as we go through this history, right? And more importantly, especially as I go through a few more things real quick, that we never quit. We have been resilient for a very long time. And what does the word resilience even mean? Right? What is resilience? It is the ability for an object to get back to its state, its normal state. So it gets bent out of shape and then being able to get back to who you are. That's resilience. That power that we have to be resilient is our key. And when we think about that power, we have to think about how it is actually our nature to be resilient on a biological level. Melanin is resilient. Melanin takes harsh radiation, light, sun, things that can damage and cause cancer to those who don't have it. Violent radiation, and it converts that into energy that sustains our life. And just by describing the process in which it does that, it reminds us of who we are. That's our power. That's our very nature. The more we go through, the more we grow. Right? We don't just go through things. We grow through things. We like Goku. The more battles you put us in, the stronger we become. Now, of course, you got Madam C.J. Walker. If we adjusted for her time, you know, she had like a wealth of 10 million, but you adjust that in today's time, man, she'd be a billionaire. And I don't need to go through every single last one, but she was a sister that did for self. And then there was another sister that was behind her. Now, how many of you all know what year the Civil War started? What year did the Civil War start? Anybody can tell me? What year did the Civil War start? That's all I want to know. What year did the Civil War start? Come on now. Somebody let me know. Anybody on that gold water today? Anybody know what year the Civil War started? That's the only piece of information I'm asking for. I think when I share these pictures, that's what slows me down. Oh, I had a presentation I wanted to go. 1861. Thank you. Thank you, Six Hustles. You got it. 1861. Now, I have to ask you all, how many people here heard of the Seminole Wars? And how many people know when was the last Seminole War? How many people heard of the Seminole Wars? Raise your hand. Anybody? When was the last Seminole War? Oh, this is good. This is getting good in here. When was the last Seminole War? Somebody let me know. When was the last Seminole War? I don't see it yet. I don't see it yet. Ain't nothing but quick look up. Go ahead and pull it up your phone. Go ahead and pull up your chat GPTs. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and pull it on up. Okay, there we go. We're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. I said the last one. I see an 1858 in there. There we go. So how many years is it between the Civil War and the Seminole War? Think about this for a second. It was only a 4-year difference. Wait a minute. First of all, let me take a step back. The Seminole Wars was a series of wars between the Seminoles, the natives, Indians, right? And then what was considered, right, some enslaved Africans, or they call them freedmen or maroons. And a lot of these Africans, based on his story, would of course go where the Seminoles was, because they like, man, we about to fight with y'all in the war. It spread over, collectively, these wars lasted for 40 years. There was time in between the first war, the second war, and the third. Right? And I want us to just think about this, because this is going to be a high-level overview. And the central character that we're focusing on right now is John Horse, the depiction of this man right here. So imagine your average black man, but a warrior. A warrior. Right? Not your average black man, actually. Not the same. John Horse, one of the coldest to ever do it, will do it, that got to it. Now, who was he? He was a warrior. He was somebody that was known as a master strategist. John Horse fought multiple wars, not just one. He fought multiple wars. First of all, I want you to think about what it's like to try to survive in them kind of wars. I ain't talking about regular wars. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about sticks and spears, the muskets and all that stuff going on. Like this was a war. It was dangerous. Surviving one war is something. But in that time, surviving multiple wars, man, John was something different. John wasn't your regular man. He was a goddamn superhero. But the question becomes, is why ain't we learned about John Horse in school? Why nobody taught us about Mr. John Horse when we was growing up? This is what I wanted to know, because I had to find about him on my own. Just me being curious about his story. About his story. I wanted to know what his story was. Right? And once I got into it, I said, wait a minute. You telling me this was a brother who fought for his freedom multiple times in multiple wars against America, and at one point in time against the Seminoles themselves, because he got captured by the Indians. Not the same type of servitude, but yeah, servitude nonetheless. He fought alongside Black Cat, right? He was so legendary, he even at one point in time took 200 people across 800 miles to Mexico. The man was cold, calculating. He was different. So I want you all, because I'm not going to try to have y'all up too late to be here forever. I want you all to study the Seminole Wars. And at one point in time, I'm going to go over each one in each period, because I think it's that interesting. I absolutely do. Right? Let me pull my picture up real quick. Let me get back into the screen. So now I want y'all to think about something. He fought these Seminole Wars. And in these wars, a lot of them was in Florida, because they had fought and gained their freedom in Florida. You know, freedom was on the Florida was actually owned by the Spanish at first, and they gave it over to Andrew Jackson. Found out it was free melanated people over there living, and they couldn't have that. They was jealous, so they went over there to rescind the freedom. And of course, what the people do? They fought back. Like, man, ain't no way we going back and fighting. I mean, working for y'all. Y'all done lost y'all goddamn mind. So it was a warrior class, right? You're talking about wars that lasted over 40 years. Why you don't hear the word wars? But they tell us about the word slavery. If you hear the word wars, then you hear warriors, you hear fighters, strategists, thinkers. But you only hear slaves. We just in chains. Think about that for a second. Now, during this time, they had to spend, in today's equivalent, billions of dollars to fight these soldiers, to fight the Seminole. They had what they call the Black Seminole. Now, a lot of people don't like when I say the Black Seminole. But this is what the military, the U.S. military, called them, the Negro Seminole, or the Black Warriors. They had their own tribe as well. And of course, they had the blended ones. It all was melanated, darker skinned people anyway. But there was some that came over from Africa that was considered to be, shipped over here that said, man, I'm going to go fight. So we hear about Nat Turner and his insurrection. But how come we ain't hear about the Seminole Wars? And it's over a 40-year period. Because then it changes the way you feel about the past, don't it? Don't it change the way you feel about the past? Don't it change when you say, wait a minute, there was a war that brothers was fighting just 4 years before the Civil War. Then you have to ask yourself, wait a minute, how was these so-called slaves so ready to fight in a war? So strategic, some of them so advanced. I got a book up here somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. Actually, RFK gave me this goddamn book. It's about a brother named, I believe his name was James Smalls. Yeah, and how he took over this ship. I know I got it somewhere. Hold up. This was raw. I love history, to be honest with you. Let me see if I can find it. I got a lot of books over here. This is a good one, too. The African Origin of Civilization, Myth or Reality. Anunnaki Science of the Black God. That's a good one. But I don't see the book because it's a pretty big book. The Science of Self. That's a good one. Fall of America. That's a good one. All right. So we're going to have to pass up on that one today. But I'll get it to y'all on another time. But I wanted to bring it up because this brother hijacked the ship. You know what I mean? And he was cold. But you don't hear these stories about these warrior militant exploits of these brothers during that time. Right? And you're like, wait a minute, why don't we only get taught history from this one filtered standpoint? Now I want you all to go back into the beginning of the video when I was talking about how the CIA actually funded some Pan-African propaganda, right? In the 60s and 70s. And I'm sure there's a bunch of off-book things that we don't know. The whole entire time, the CIA and the FBI had a main interest, particularly in stopping the Black radical mind, the one who was disinterested in being, right, a patriot of America. They was disinterested in being integrationalists. This is what they wanted to stop. This is what they didn't care for. This is what they was hoping that they didn't have to contend with in the future. So you don't learn about these Seminole Wars, and I'm like, man, John Horse was so raw. The man fought countless battles, and he fought multiple wars, and he fought for his freedom so many times, and it just represents a story of resilience. And it just makes you think that, no, it's great to hear the story of Nat Turner, but that story just ends so tragically. It makes you feel like you just got to crash out. Not that you can win. It's different. It's different about the stories. We hear about Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman, amazing, fearless, courageous, powerful. Harriet Tubman didn't save that many people. I think she had like a dozen people along the Underground Railroad. And I didn't say that many. It takes in that time, of course, to build up that intricate system and have the heart to even go back for one. It's worth 1,000 cowards in this day and time, million. So I'm not trying to demean whatsoever. What I'm saying is, why don't we see or hear some other stories? Why some stories are chosen to be highlighted? And how are these historians of great academia not well researched enough to pull out other history when they can tell the stories of individuals like Black Horse that took 200 people over 800 miles to get them to freedom? How did that make you feel if you saying that's my ancestor? Because they always talk about all these scary Negroes that was afraid to go with her and things of that nature. Interesting. I want y'all to hold on to that thought. I want y'all to remember that. Now, I want us to think about this. At that time, they were afraid of the blueprint that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad laid out. And the CIA, FBI, the government was trying to figure out, how do we push Black people into a different direction? How do something that's safer for us, right? And so they encourage these conversations with academia, Africans of academia, that meaning that they're more of a controlled mind. And they wanted us to focus more on the arts and the culture, just be kunta kinte cloth wearing fools instead of these militant action taking. They said, no, just wear the clothes of the African and just feel like it and have just this cultural revolution, but don't like focus on building your own cities and own economic networks and doing for self. Don't focus on stuff like that, bro. Just make the music and like connect with the Africans and things of that nature. Just be a Pan-Africanist. Now look at what we see today with celebrities. They go over to Africa and they see the African brothers and they say, hey, we are an African. Nah, man, I'm back home. Touch the land, start crying. They just happy with the connection. But those same celebrities don't make anything, they don't produce anything, they don't build anything. Matter of fact, if anything, most of them, these entertainers, are detrimental to our community. And what America figured out was that, man, it'll be easier to just make a new Negro with a new mind that's non-radical, and we can help exalt these civil rights leader that wants to integrate, because what happened was, instead of seeing our own products as premium, right, and spending money to build up our own Black America to be better, to take the examples of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Marcus Garvey's and say, this is how we go build. Instead, we took so much energy in trying to integrate. And of course, the government wants you to go that direction. They got to act like they don't. But they wanted that. Yeah, there's racist America, but the races in America are not efficient, because what they realized during the Seminole Wars is that, dude, we spending billions of dollars, losing countless of soldiers to go in the swamps and fight guerrilla tactic warfare, where these Negroes got the upper hand. Yeah, we might be winning, but look at the casualties of winning, to where you spending billions of dollars to try to take a man and make him your slave, when we could be spending that money and building up America. They said, man, this don't make no sense. The president spent all this money. We fighting all this war. Like, what we doing? They was looking at it like, man, racism ain't even profitable, B. Like, this slavery thing ain't even profitable. Like, why are we spending all this money trying to enslave these people? Let's just figure out a new system. So this is part of the reason why Abraham Lincoln was like, listen, man, I got to free them Negroes, because we can't afford to keep fighting wars against them. You hear what I'm saying? I said, we can't afford to keep fighting wars against them. Wars. Hey, it's different when you say it like that. It feels different. Oh, it feels different. Man, we got to spend, in today's equivalent, billions of dollars to fight wars against them. The Seminole Wars is known as the Florida Wars. It's consistent of three distinct conflicts between the United States government and the Seminole people in Florida. The first war was in 1817, 1818. It was a 2-year war. Tensions escalated between U.S. forces. General Edmund P. Gaines, he attacked the Seminole village near the Flint River. This was a response to the Seminole attacks on the settlers and a refuge the Seminoles provided to escaped slaves. The refuge. Wait a minute. Why we always say, why the Indians ain't help? Why this ain't help? The refuge, the collaboration, the cooperation. This is just history, folks. This ain't like something super deeper hitting. This is surface level. Because when we start to go deeper, most of y'all go, it's gonna blow your mind. And some people want to start you all the way deep. That's not the way you prepare a mind. You got to expand it little by little. If you're a professor in a class, you had to spoon feed. All right, so let's go. General Andrew Jackson. You know, you keep them Andrews and Jacksons. He led a military campaign into Spanish Florida, capturing forts and destroying Seminole settlements. This aggressive action helped pave the way for Spain eventually cession of Florida to the U.S. in 1819. Right? Then they had the Second Seminole War, 1830. It wasn't no quitting. It was never no quitting. Another one. They tried to do the Indian Removal Act. That was passed, pressuring the southern eastern tribes, including the Seminoles, to relocate to the west of the Mississippi River. Then you got to ask yourself, wait a minute. Seminoles and the Africans was having babies, creating these Negro Seminoles. Even if you believe the history where we the original people in America, we are the Native Americans, or you believe the story that, no, we came over here as slaves. Well, one thing you can know is that we was mating with each other. Brother seen them fine Seminole Native American women, you feel me, and pulled up on them. You feel me, them strong black, hey, how you doing? You know what I'm saying? Hey, he laced her down one time. Come on now, you trying to tell me brother seen the Pocahontas and they ain't put their bid in? That don't make no sense. It's a blended people, number one. Regardless of what side of history you find yourself on, these are blended people. They had treaties in 1832. There was a treaty of Penn Landing required the Seminoles to leave Florida. But many refused, man. They refused. Don't care how many orders. They had a treaty to talk to these people. They refused. They claimed that they never had to agree to the terms. Fight broke out. The Seminole leaders, including Osceola, resisted the U.S. attempts to forcibly remove them. The Dade Massacre, right? You talking about Dade County? Dade Massacre, December 1835, makes the formal start of the Second Seminole War. Let's go to war again. If they go into war, that means they got a whole warrior class. That means they got a whole army. That means they're strategic. That means that they've been lining up. That means that they fighting for something. That means that they had an entire way of life and way of living during these times that we just don't talk about as a people. Now, we ain't doing that no more. In 1837 to 1838, Osceola was captured under a flag of truce, and resistance began to wane after his death in 1838. However, smaller bands of Seminoles continue to fight. This is a narrative that never ends. 1842, the war officially ended when the U.S. forces decided to halt aggressive campaigns. Many Seminoles was forced west, but a small number remained in Florida Everglades. They just refused to give up their land the whole time. I mean, they refused and they never goddamn left. Man, it's so gangster, man. I love hearing this. I love learning about it. Make me feel so good. They refuse to leave. How you not say, man, America mine? How you not hear that history? Because then there's another history, man. You know, Donald Trump was talking crazy the other day. He talking about, man, look, man, we gonna get rid of if the prisoners keep reoffending, we gonna ship them out. Now, this ain't nothing original. This ain't the first time. You know what I mean? Many of these European ancestors, Caucasian ancestors got to America because they was prisoners. You feel me? Britain was goddamn shipping over these petty criminal hustlers, political defectors, you feel me, over to America, and then they would have to serve out their term under servitude. You feel me? As slaves and indentured servants. They came over here as criminals, but nobody ever asked the white man, where you from? Where your people's from? Oh, where your people's from? Nobody ever asked the white man that. Are they from Irish? Did they come over here as criminals? Where are they from? Because ain't none of y'all native. Nobody ever asked a white man that. But then when a black man go travel there, where are you from? You don't know where you from. You ain't never asked a white man that in your life. Man, shut up. Don't ask me that no more. Tell me where I'm from. Obviously, I'm from the warrior tribe. You know what I'm talking about? I'm from the people who never gave up. I'm from the people who fought wars for hundreds of years and revolted. That's me. That's my peoples. They ain't never had a give up mentality ever. All right, let's go on. Let's keep going. Then it was a third war. A third war. Man, this is so gangster. I love it. 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 A third war. Come on, man. Hold on. A third war. This is such a small piece of history, too. They love Florida, man. Florida was nice. You know what I'm saying? Why you think so much crazy stuff be happening in Florida, man? That juju's still over there. Well, Florida, this is why the Santos don't want to know no history. The Santos don't want nobody knowing about this. You think the Santos want Dade County knowing about this? You think that y'all don't understand it. Y'all think this critical history theory and all that. Come on, man. They don't want you to know how powerful you are, B. And it's so obvious because now you don't have to be the biggest researcher and scholar in the history to utilize the resources and tools that you have. They can't hide history. They can always try to program the AI to answer it like this, answer it like you can always dig deep and use your intellectual knowledge to figure out what was going on. Then we got the conflict reignited at the U.S. troops clash with Seminole leader Billy Bowlegs. Billy Bowlegs was so gangster. Oh, Billy Bowlegs. You feel me? That sound like, come on, man. You can't tell me. Listen, first of all, you trying to tell me, listen to their names that they be having. One of the names of the brother's name was Black Cat. He one of the coldest warriors, Black Cat. You see his logo on the fireworks, the Black Cat. Names. What happened in the hood? We got the same crazy goddamn nicknames. You feel me? So the name was Billy Bowlegs. But that don't ever make fun of his leg, though. He was crazy like that. You feel me? Billy Bowlegs. He reignited when the troops clashed with him. Like, what's y'all problem? Then it became a series of small little skirmishes rather than a bigger war. But Billy Bowlegs was trying to tell him, don't play with me because we really bought that life. We bought that action. We've been in war with y'all before. We know y'all tactics. We ain't afraid of y'all. We go keep fighting. Don't play with us like that. Billy Bowlegs wasn't playing with him. Come on now. Then in 1858, the U.S. offered financial incentives to remain Seminoles to relocate. Many, including Bowlegs, accepted and moved west. He said, okay. It's been 3 years since we had our little conflict. Y'all doing too much. Because they were spending all the money that they can. These whites hated the fact that there was these people living free that were constantly fighting them. I mean, they hated them. They hated them. The U.S. offered financial incentives to remain Seminoles to relocate, meaning including Bowlegs accepted and moved west. A few Seminole families stayed in the Everglades where the descendants live today. And depending on how you hear the story, because it wasn't always like that. Some of them say, man, no, we fighting, we stand, we ain't going, we disobeying, we gonna keep doing it. You feel me? So it resulted in severe losses, a reduced number, but they fought. Never gave up. And this is 1858. 4 years later was a civil war. Civil War lasted 4 years. Got a 41 years of war. Only 4 years in between the Civil War, only 8 years from 1865. That to me sounds like they fought for their own goddamn freedom the whole time. That to me sounds like they fought for their freedom the whole time. Now, as much money as we spent on integration, culturation, assimilation, you know, becoming a part of this political class, this academia, NAACP, a lot of these CIA, FBI funded organizations. We was boycotting the Montgomery boycott, a bus boycott, you know, where they put the good sister in the back of the bus. They staged these sit-ins because we wanted to sit in the front of the bus. Now, the guy who advised Martin Luther King during this time was Rustin. They just made a movie about him, old Rusty. He was a LGBT black man. He was, you know, a supreme strategist for the civil rights. Now, there's alleged ties from the CIA with him, right? And him taking monies and things of that nature. And many people really believe this because they say he started to switch up his rhetoric. He started to switch up his rhetoric. And he wasn't thinking radical whatsoever. He was on his assimilationist path. But he was the one advising Martin Luther King. And I think Martin Luther King realized, man, he had Negroes like that around him. He was like, man, I ain't listening to y'all. So Martin Luther King went to Elijah Muhammad. They had a meeting. And I think he realized that means like, bro, you got the right way. I'm tripping. I'm going the way they want me to go. You going the way that we should go. And that's when he had this epiphany. I've just decided to help us boycott the Montgomery bus boycott so that we can integrate on somebody else's bus, which then prioritize doing for self so that we could be involved in white America's businesses and consume what they produce when we was producing what we consume, being prosumers. And it wasn't that there was people in the ear of Martin Luther King saying that, man, how about we take our monies and we just build up our own buses? He like, chill. I got Rustin and the rest of them telling me what to do. But from my belief that his inside team was compromised because America understood that it's much better to have them go into this direction of integrationalists than separatists in America to do for self, which is direct political and economic action. So it reminds me of when America started fighting and arguing like, man, we spending too much money trying to maintain racism. We were spending so much money trying to fight it. And in both those instances, the people were becoming disappointed, saying that, man, what if we just build our own nation up? And then we parallel that into 2024 when we raised $1 billion for Kamala Harris to run a political race so we can say we got the first black woman in office, half black and Indian. Would you imagine that? But not the Seminole type of Indian. Indian from over there. So let's spend all this money trying to assimilate, work within. When, if we were to study history, the right history, we could have just did the Marcus Garvey and Honorable Elijah Muhammad thing. And we could have did for self. And we'd be much farther ahead. So the question becomes, now that we get to look back at it, was the civil rights movement effective? I believe many people fought on the line. They had courage. I even think a lot of them had the right attitude, the right mind, and believed that they was doing 100% the right thing. And I respect it. My great aunt, she was part of the civil rights movement. You know, she introduced Ronald Reagan to the NAACP. But she was so gangster that when she introduced him, she said, this man represents the 4 horsemen of pestilence, of famine, of war, death. Oh, man, they hated her for that. Because she was a gangster. She spoke what she spoke. When I caught a case in St. Louis, man, she helped me because she had a law firm and she lended one of her lawyers to help me fight my case. I couldn't afford it. Fortunately, I beat the case. But she worked on the case. I believe it was Shelley versus Kelly, Shelley v. or something, but it was about racist covenants in America. My great grandfather sold a house during one of the most historic cases in American history, right? Where he sold a house in a white neighborhood because he was real estate. And they tried to uphold racist covenants to say that no, Negroes can't be in this neighborhood. They've made movies and shows about this. And so what he did was he went Thurgood Marshall and my great aunt, and he funded the case to the Supreme Court and they won. And then, of course, that allowed Negroes to integrate into different neighborhoods and live wherever the hell they wanted to. He put his money where his mouth was. Got to respect that. Now, my great aunt was the first Black woman as a chair in the NAACP. She wasn't the first woman. It was white women as chair, of course. But she was eventually kicked out. Now I know what you're thinking. Why did they kick out your great aunt? What'd she do? Well, she was auditing the NAACP money. She seen money was going out and she was trying to figure out what the hell going on. And she suspended the president at that time and he refused to answer. And he called a coup on her because she was calling into question the funds and how they were spending, essentially saying that they misappropriating funds. And she couldn't get an account for it. And it didn't make sense. And instead, they kicked her out. And then, of course, there were some other things that was going on, but the NAACP, they've been corrupt on the inside. And then I think about these organizations that have been paid shield for the Democrats, that have been part of the boule for so long. And you got to think, man, America has really allowed most of your so-called leaders to be in position in a way that they are because it's exactly the way they want them to be. It's not the type of Pan-African that Marcus Garvey was. It's the type of Pan-African that they want them to be, that Langston Hughes was. It's the type of Pan-African that focuses more on the celebration of the arts of the culture than the sovereignty of self. That enjoys the colorfulness of it, the academia of it. Instead of taking direct action, they just find pride in celebrating a connection to the motherland. Instead of saying, man, where you from? What you mean where I'm from? What you mean? My ancestors been fighting here for hundreds of years. We've been fighting here. What y'all talking about? We've been here. You know what I'm saying? We've been building, we've been fighting, we've been going to wars, we've been warriors, we've been outside. You know what I'm saying? We've been building towns, cities, we've been inventing and innovating. Man, when you ask me where I'm from, I don't understand what you mean. Because if you go ask a Black man where they from in America, but not ask the white man standing right next to him, it's disrespectful. So as much as even I love when I go to Africa, I love doing business with my African brothers, but I don't need to be you to appreciate me. And if I'm going to be a Pan-African, it's one like the brother Ibrahim, who tells the colonizers, I don't need you. I can do for self. That I reject you because I know you economic hitmen are only there to give me gifts that I don't need so you can use it against me, to give me debt and loans and to prop me up into position to pacify me from doing what's really right for my people. I don't want to be that kind of Pan-Africanist. And this is why his story has to be told. Because then we realize we victors. We actually code at this thing called life. because we can go through the worst and we resilient. We just keep building, and they throw a lot at us. Ronald Reagan threw all the drugs he could. They threw all the media they could, but somehow, some way, these goddamn people just keep coming back to that same warrior spirit. No matter what happened, each generation, they just keep raising up. I mean, we throw everything that we possibly can, every psyop, every psychic weapon that we have, every propaganda tool, every machine that we can possibly produce, but every single time, it's just written in their DNA that they're different. They resilient ass people. And even sometimes we don't know that we like that, but it shines in us. Man, it's beautiful. And so I take that and I craft a perspective. Because when you craft this perspective of history that allows you to understand that you haven't been losing this whole time. You've been fighting and you've been gaining traction and growth. And that we are the generation of some of the greatest warriors in the history. The greatest strategists in history, greatest inventors and scientists. Not even going, I ain't even talked about no goddamn Mansa Musa yet. I ain't talked about no Hannibal Barkers and Timbuktus and ancient Kemet. We ain't got to go that far to see greatness. We going too far back. We ain't got to go to ancient Samaria to see greatness. We geniuses, truly. We can look in our own backyard and see greatness. Now, that to me is worth everything in the world. It's worth all the money in the world. That to me is the reason you learn history for. You don't want the version of history that keeps making the same type of man and the same type of woman. Because if I was to take an average person and give them African American studies, and you teach them about W. Du Bois and Thurgood Marshall and Langston Hughes, and give them the run-of-the-mill story. Teach them about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and things of that nature. Just give them the regular story. Give them the history that all the academians, you go turn out the same type of Negro. The same pro-Black Pan-Africanist. Not one that want to do for self. Not one that does anything that this government will consider to be powerful or dangerous or radical, self-sufficient, right? Do the same thing. All they got to do is say they're a little Black and we good with that. Now, you look at the billionaires that we have now and the billionaires that we was building. These billionaires we have now are all selfish. They nowhere near close to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Marcus Garvey. They couldn't spit shine their shoes. So I celebrate every day as a day to remind myself who we are. And I think that learning history is a cure to the oppression mindset and the victim mindset, but only if you learn it the right way. Because if you learn his story and it's not told the right way, then you can get the wrong narrative. It can make you feel as if you come from nothing instead of you come from everything. If you learn his version of Pan-Africanist, it can make you exactly the type of man and woman they want you to be. But you want to be the exact opposite of who they want you to be. You want to be the radical, the outspoken, the one that's looking for direct critical change in infrastructure, the one that decides to build their own thing. Not the one that take trinkets of Kunta Kinte cloths and walk around as if they Pan-African, but they don't do nothing for their people in America, but they go over to Africa and act like they did something, like they found some hidden history. He ain't did nothing. Nah, I think the version of history where we start to walk with the Marcus Garvey and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and we look at their economic blueprint and we resurrect that in today's time, is the one. So share this out with those you think can challenge this perspective. I would love to hear it. That may become valuable from this perspective. It's not that I think Pan-Africanism is wrong. I think the CIA sponsored version of it is. And that if we're doing it just for the arts and the culture and the dance, the Afro beats of it all, but none of the liberation, none of the fight, none of the direct action, none of the do for self, then I think we still living out a psyop. So this has been your Hidden History. I hope you all enjoyed this. It was very powerful. If I do say so myself. Make sure you support. We have a shirt that says, "My ancestors died for my right to build wealth." You know what I'm saying? Make sure you go get you one of those. This is how you support the channel, putting out more information, making sure that I get to the people. Our goal is to make documentaries on these things, make movies on these things. So, you know, we are self-funded. We do everything for self. This is straight on the ground movement so that we can take it up to the highest level. You feel me? So continue to support the platform and everything that we do here. And I definitely appreciate everybody that has tuned in thus far. Continue to tune in because we're going to continue to make it work. Man, you all are amazing. And I just want to thank you all for being a part of this channel. Make sure you share, like, and subscribe on YouTube. And make sure you put them views and comments on YouTube so we can continue to grow. I want to show you all something before I leave. Let me see. Here we go. All right. So as you can see, this is the website. We have the new shirts, the Save Yourself shirts. We have the Spook Who Set Beside the Messiah shirt, say be your own savior. This is one of my favorites and one of the best-selling shirts. This actually will not be available after. But this is from the classic movie, The Spook Who Sat Beside the Door. And this shows a revolution going down in the streets of America. This movie was banned when it first came out because it was one of the most powerful movies. And it was set by us, right? What you see is a lot of movies today that's supposed to represent like some revolutionary spirit, but it is edited by white folks and they tell our story. This was a time where we told our own story unfiltered, the way we viewed revolution. So I suggest everybody go watch that. The crescent is the cosmic thing of cosmism. We have the Save Yourself shirts. Save Yourself right there. You know what I'm talking about? That comes in different size, lady sizes, things of that nature as well. You feel me? We got the Asset to the Revolution shirt. I love that one of my favorite. Again, these will all be done after February. These are all limited. We got the Spook shirt, another one of my top favorites. This one got the sheep, and this is a shadow of a panther, right? So this was some of the original iconography artwork of the original movie. And the whole idea is that each one of us are spooks, right? I don't care where you work, who you are, because in the movie, he was a spook by the fact that he was essentially the first Black CIA officer, but they didn't know that he was a very awakened and conscious man. And he used his position to get intel and then take that back to the streets to start a revolution. And it was powerful, powerful movie. And they was afraid that it was going to spark revolution. So the whole thing is, you know, be a spook. You got the panther and the sheep on the back, one of my favorite shirts. So I designed all of these myself. You feel me? So make sure you support the collection. We have ladies tank tops, fellas tank tops, stuff for you to go work out in, things of that nature. It's very powerful. Got some of the hats, the high level conversation hats. You put that on, represent the godly hats, high level club, spooks and messiahs. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you can see what it looked like in action and stuff like that. Support the website. Go to high-level.club. You feel me? Check out new releases that we're consistently dropping. We have the high level training. Live at 100%. The question becomes, are you living at 100%? You feel me? Make sure you get those. As you can see, some more artwork and everything on the shirt. I love this. The revolutionary impulse for liberation. It's one of my favorite quotes. It has the breakdown explanation of each one. These are very high quality shirts as well, which is why they are 60. They were 100. I told them to bring down the price for the people during Black History Month. You feel me? But these are very powerful shirts. Very, very heavy tees. So you're going to get that quality material on each one that you wear. You're going to love it. And then we got leather patches on them on the side as well. These are the girls' crop tees. Those for those who do a little bit of working out. You feel me? They're not super conservative. So if you in that type of time, the team wanted to make something like that. If you ain't been working out, please don't put none of them shirts on because it will expose the bellies. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, go shop the shirts. This is how you support the channel. Make sure you screenshot that right there. You feel me? I will put the website link here for anybody that wants to buy. Yeah, I believe there's some hoodies on the site as well, so you can go check out those. You know, I'm in California, it's a little warmer for us, so I'll be thinking of it like that. Make sure you screenshot that. But yeah, everybody click that one time. And make sure you tag me when you grab something. Show support for the shirt so that we can continue to make these videos and we can continue to build. Because a lot of times YouTube, they don't want to spread these type of videos. So when we make these is essentially us doing this for free. And so when you support the brand, it allows us to continue to grow, right? And continue to reproduce. And the goal is like, I have to, a lot of times, I like doing these live videos because other times I have to pay my editors, right? And different people to do these videos. And we about to start doing some really dope high level conversation. Starting off this next season, we're about to take over the game, and we have some really big announcements that's coming soon. February 7th, you'll see me in person. For all of those that bought their tickets, if you bought a ticket, you know, you can win an acre of land. All you have to do, there's a few things you're going to have to do. You have to tag me on Instagram in the video saying why you think you deserve to win an acre of land and what does it mean to save yourself. If you don't know, an acre of land is like 90% of a football field, right? You can put like 19 homes up there, 2,000 plus square feet. You can build whatever you want to, and you will win an acre of land in the United States, right? And this will be provided by my brothers over at Acre Boys. So make sure you tap all the way in. You feel me? Are there any questions before I get out there? Yes, we do have women cuts and things of that nature. So make sure y'all grab something today and tell a friend and tell a friend. You feel me? All right. I'm going to drop it on the Twitter right now for anybody that is on the Twitter, because I know a lot of people are asking on the Twitter. All right. That's it. All right. Now, y'all have a beautiful, y'all have a powerful day, and understand that we are the victors and we command reality. And that's all I got for you tonight. I have some things to do. I did not watch the Grammys, but I have some people to meet. You feel me? Some hands to shake, because we have a war to win. The fight never stops. And the most important fight is within. Peace to the gods.